Hey there, I am in Belleville, Ohio. Today I'm driving quite a bit through Ohio. Right now I'm near Mansfield, Ohio, and I'm right outside of the Buckeye Express diner. This is a restaurant in an old train car. I've been to at least one of these before. This place looks really awesome, and I'm going to be driving to Canton later tonight, and I'm going to be taking the Lincoln Highway. So stay tuned for that. But first we're gonna go check this out. Yeah, look at this. This is like up on a hill above Belleville and I-71. It's freaking cool. So there's a Native American riding a horse out front. Yeah, look at that. That is quite unique. I'm guessing this is a sports ball thing. I wouldn't know anything about that. They even have the locomotive part. So they recreated a little train depot, and you can eat in that red train car. Here's the locomotive. I found out a little history about it. This is used on the Nickel Plate Railroad, which is primarily here in Ohio, but also went to like Indianapolis and passes right by where I live. So this is pretty neat. See the details of the locomotive. Huge wheels and the, what is that called, the turning mechanism. This would have been a coal field train. Looks like they have an antique construction thingy-majig. Here they have some more figures. Looks like a ranching cowboy and one lonesome cattle. They have a second green train car. Over here it says the Terry Byrne Railroad Company. And I think this is like a Airbnb type thing. You can stay in that one. I think they're missing their coupler.
Or do we just, you'll bring it? Okay. Hot chocolate. Okay, get in there now that we...
This would have been a great card. What's really cool about eating in this caboose is you can actually like sit way up here. So here's my burger, and what this was used for, like the conductor could sit up here and watch the train go on like turns and curves, kind of check so that it doesn't go off the rails and, I don't know, kill everything. They could also get their bearings on the wheels. So yeah, this was quite the spot. Definitely recommend the Buckeye Express diner if you're in Belleville, if you're heading up 71 to Cleveland. Definitely worth eating here. But now we're gonna head towards Mansfield, and I think from there we're gonna take the Lincoln Highway. So I'm now in Mansfield, Ohio. It's a fairly large town with the tightest turns I've ever experienced. I hit a couple curbs trying to get to this park, but I'm in Central Park. They have a bunch of statues and monuments here. Okay, this is pretty awesome, and I wasn't expecting this. They have a Martin Luther King Jr. memorial. Look at this. Looks like they put one of the photographs of the Selma to Montgomery March on granite or something. That's really cool. And they have a sculpture of Dr. King. Not gonna lie, it's kind of an odd looking sculpture of him, not the best. A little too much forehead than he had. And this right here is the original Lincoln Highway. that starts at Times Square in New York City and goes to Land's End in San Francisco. The Lincoln Highway was arguably the first coast-to-coast highway designed as an auto trail, really starting back around 1912, 1913. That time period, it was largely the idea of Carl Fisher of Indiana, who also was one of the guys who started the Speedway. And a lot of it still exists, and that is definitely one of my top road trips that I want to do. So yeah, hopefully that's going to happen on this channel, and we're going to do the entire thing. Got some of the Mansfield businesses. That's a pretty tall building with some Art Deco and Gothic combined in it. Let's see, there's Reed's. Olympic Lounge is interesting. A lot of Art Deco, so a lot of these buildings were developed around the time of the Lincoln Highway's heyday. The 1994 film The Shawshank Redemption was filmed around Mansfield. A lot of scenes at the Ohio State Reformatory, which I may or may not have been to, so go check out that video. But here's another filming location from that movie. This was where Brooks was here in Central Park, feeding the crows. He was hoping that his friend Jake the Crow would show up, but he never did.
Sometimes after work I go to the park and feed the birds. I keep thinking Jake might just show up and say hello, but he never does. I hope wherever he is, he's doing okay and making new friends.
Unfortunately, that bench is not quite accurate. The original bench was here where they built a gazebo, so I don't know why they have to build it there. But right about here was where the actual scene with Brooks was. And this is just a replica bench. So at least they tried to reconstruct the movie history. This is their Korean War memorial. Freedom is not free, same one they have at the memorial in DC. And here along the Lincoln Highway is a marker to some Lincoln history. It says the first public and official endorsement of Abraham Lincoln as the candidate for President of the United States was given to him by Mansfield at the county convention here in November of 1858. The monument's in 1925, wow. So here's an unusual marker. It says the killing of a local shopkeeper here stirred rumors about a Native American attack. And in 1813, so Johnny Appleseed went to some other towns for some reinforcements. This square would have been a blockhouse during like the War of 1812. There's a lot of fighting going on at that time. And yeah, So Johnny Appleseed was here. This is a memorial to Alan Vandenberg, who died during Operation Iraqi Freedom. He was from here. This is their 1922 World War I memorial. A statue of a doughboy. This is the Richland County Soldiers Memorial, dedicated in 1888. This would have been a largely Civil War memorial, but I think it's meant for all wars. It's a really cool sculpture. This old fountain is beautiful. It's probably about 100 years old or so. More businesses lining Central Park. The Reindeer Grill, the Coney Island Inn, family restaurant. I'm gonna keep that one in mind. I'd like to go there. And here's the Richland County Courthouse. This looks to be a 1960s or 70s style. I forget where the architectural style is called. It's kind of interesting. And they have some old cannons out front. Typical courthouse feature. Still cool nonetheless. I wasn't aware of this. John Sherman is from Mansfield. He was born in Lancaster, and he was one of the first Republicans. He was a senator during the Civil War. He was Secretary of the Treasury under President Rutherford B. Hayes. He re-implemented the gold standard during the Greenback debate. McKinley appointed him Secretary of State. Now, in between his Secretary of the Treasury gig and the Secretary of State gig, he was back in the Senate, and he was the guy behind the Sherman Antitrust Act of 1890. And of course, at this time, the monopolies were being formed, like Standard Oil, and so this was the first time that some regulations and restrictions were passed through the Senate, and that's pretty important. Their Vietnam Veterans Memorial. There's their monument to the Congressional Medal of Honor recipients from Richland County. And how about one more war memorial for all veterans? That's nice. Mansfield has its good share of memorials. Now I'm taking a quick look inside of the Mansfield Cemetery. The Vastbinders obelisk is really something. It's a very unique grave marker. Guessing they were pretty important in Mansfield. Looks like a lot of these were members of the Grand Army of the Republic. And this is the grave of Senator Sherman, right here in Mansfield. Didn't know he was buried here, so this is quite the bonus for a history and politics nerd like me. As I mentioned at the courthouse, his main legacy is the Sherman Antitrust Act, and I think it is still considered one of the more important economic and regulatory bills ever passed by the United States Congress. And he's laid to rest right here. Senator, Secretary of the Treasury, Secretary of State. He was also a veteran, and someone left a sticker that says U.S. veteran for him. Times may be different, but definitely wish pretty much all the senators would look more towards his example. There's a bunch of veterans' graves right here. Veterans Honor Ground. So, mainly Civil War and Spanish-American War veterans here. Interesting, there's like a really old staircase right here at the foot of the hill with the veterans' graves and Sherman's grave. This might have been more of a big deal back around 1900 when these guys died. Always like finding these. These are mausoleums built into the hills. Here are the Grimes. Now this thing is quite magnificent. I'm very sure this would have been the receiving vault. I guess they would like hold bodies temporarily in here if need be. A lot of cemeteries back in the day would have used this procedure. I don't think this has been used in a long time, and it really smells. Kind of odd, it's all open air, so you can definitely see there's some tile, that the interior was wooden. Also quite a bit of damage to the architecture here. It's fallen apart over the years. I've never seen a mausoleum like this. It's made of yellow brick with a red roof tiling, kind of an Art Deco style. From Mansfield, the Lincoln Highway continues to Wooster, Ohio, and that's where I am now. And there's a few different reroutes of the Lincoln Highway, but here is an original remnants of, I believe, the 1913 route of the Lincoln Highway. I found this by observing the historical map of the Lincoln Highway. So let's go check this out. This is a real piece of roadside history. At least this part of the Lincoln Highway was brick. The original auto trails, I think sometimes were wood, but not so much at that point. But they would have often been brick. So that's why you see like a lot of historic towns may have brick streets. Wow, this is walking on history here. And in this time period, there would have been a bridge right here. They've built a guardrail now, but there would have been a bridge over the creek, and I think that might be 30, US 30 up there. That's technically the modern routing of the Lincoln Highway. And this is a part that no longer really exists except for the brick right here. So this is the first road across the country. This is one of the few remnants of it. Think of all the Model Ts that would have passed right through here about 100 years ago. So this is a very little known landmark of American history here in Worcester. Doesn't get a marker or anything. I just found it by looking at the Lincoln Highway Association historical maps. I'm telling you, one day, coast to coast, it's happening. And here along the Lincoln Highway, I found this by surprise. This is the Dariette Drive-In in Dalton, Ohio. With an awesome neon sign. But here we'll eat here. It's been in operation since 1957. This is about as classic as it gets right here. Eat. And now I'm in Belleville, Ohio for one last stop. John Glen Grove is closed. But then again, I don't care. And right here is a monument to Astro Senator John Glenn. Now, I don't really know why the monument is here. Of course, he is from Ohio, but he didn't live here. He wasn't born here. So there's just kind of a random monument to him over here. Why not? He served with the Marine Corps in World War I and the Korean War, but he went down in the history books because in 1962 he became the first American to orbit the Earth. See, here's the plaque. He was also a senator from the state of Ohio from 1975 to 1998, and he's also the oldest American to orbit the Earth. In a discovery, he went in 1998 while senator. He passed away in December of 2016, and I've been to his grave in Arlington National Cemetery. And he's depicted in his Mercury spacesuits, reaching for some shooting stars, or shooting some shooting stars off his hand, I don't know. So that was my whirlwind trip through Ohio today. I filmed a few other videos. If you like this, I have a bunch of videos at other roadside attractions and museums, so please go check those out, and thanks for watching.